Hello everybody, it is week 43. Our topic is sex, and I am going to stick to my notes because this is like my umpteenth take and I can't do it anymore. So, what I want to talk about first is that I'm not going to talk about my personal experiences. I don't think it would help people as much, I guess. I would rather talk about, in general, when you're going to sleep with anybody, especially if it's on a regular basis, the steps to take to make it most enjoyable for both of you. Because sex is awesome, and it should be awesome, and it should never be a source of pain in a relationship. It should be the easiest thing to communicate. And too often, we're afraid, or we're ashamed, or we're made to feel like it's supposed to be shameful, and it's not. It's a way for two people that care about each other. Or if you're not in a relationship, if you just, think they're pretty, to express those feelings. So, as far as a relationship goes, it's always going to start off, a little bit more gung-ho, and then it will taper off. That's, I think, pretty much everybody's relationship that ends up happening too. And you're going to have lows and highs. And I think if you're with somebody that is on T, it almost exaggerates those highs and lows. So, a relationship with a man who's not on T, you might go 3 times a week for 1 week and then nothing and then back to 3 times a week. But if the person's on T, then it might be a little bit more amped up. So it's, oh my god, I have to do it 4 times a day, and then a month-long dry spell, and then again, like bunnies. And I think that's part of what T does. It exaggerates your sex drive, your sexuality. I don't think that it makes, it's not going to fix all your problems. So if you have, problems with your sex life before you start T, don't count on it to be magic juice and fix everything, because it's not. It might actually make things worse. I know a lot of people go into the injections or the creams or the patches, whichever ones you happen to be using. Chance uses an injection. If you go into it expecting miracles, you're only going to get let down, and it's going to hurt both of you. So just know that, yeah, it could increase sex drive, it could decrease sex drive, it could do nothing. So just kind of keep that in mind and try to be patient. You're not going to take the first injection and then all of a sudden be like, alright, let's do this. Just is not how medication works. Everybody has different views on sex. Some people are more open, some people are more reserved. And I think especially in our society where women are taught to be ashamed of it, are taught not to talk about it. And to that, I say suck it. And to that, I say I'm going to talk about it whenever I want to. And that's not the mindset that my partner has. So when we first got together, we had to figure out, okay, it's okay if I talk about, sex and my sexuality, but what happens between he and I is personal and an intimate time and isn't to be shared with, friends and other people, if that makes sense at all. So try to reach some kind of compromise. I almost said conclusion. Try to reach some kind of compromise with your views, because you could be polar opposites like my partner and I were, or you could just be a little bit off of each other. And that's why the most important things when it comes to sex are communication, which I know we talk about pretty much every video. Communication is so important. Especially after this in a previous video, if you're going to sleep with somebody, you need to be able to have a conversation with them. You need to be able to sit down and say, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what works for me, this is what doesn't work for me. And then tying into that, the second important thing is consent. because consent's a big one. Consent's one of those things where it can be easily manipulated. And unfortunately, people do ignore it. They do manipulate it. They do think that consent is complied for some people. Consent is implied, sorry, for some people. If you're with your partner for, years and years, that you still have to ask, You can still, do a little romance, do a little asking. Do I have your permission to? They're not your property. You don't get to just dive on in there whenever you want to. That's my soapbox on consent, so I'm going to step off that. What I did want to focus on with this video is what I think gets pushed by the wayside a lot in trans relationships, or a relationship in which a partner is trans, either one of them, is focusing on the person that's not transitioning. And I think a lot of the time, if there's dysphoria involved, you as the partner end up focusing on, okay, what are their needs? What makes them feel good? What do I need to do to accommodate them? And then you're stuck, all riled up and nowhere to go. And then you're stuck with your needs not getting met. So that's where communication comes back in. You have to sit down and say, this is important to me because, and this is what I want to do to adjust it. My biggest plea, I guess, if you're a partner and you're going to your trans partner, this is for the trans partners, but to anybody that is having their intimate partner come to them to talk about sex, please do not get defensive, because it closes the line of communication. It completely kills the line of communication, and it makes the person coming to you about a tricky situation ashamed. So, I think I was down here. Yeah, it closes the line of communication. It will make them feel worse about the situation. So, I've been in situations where the medication that I'm on, it makes it so that I actually can't orgasm, no matter how much my partner is trying and applying himself, it just won't happen. And it's not anybody's fault, it's just the medication that I'm on. Or, people do get headaches. That is a legitimate reason. And some people, might have a chronic illness, like a stomach issue or that kind of thing, and they don't feel sexy, or they just can't physically, their body won't do it. So if that happens to you, the most important thing is not to take it personally, if that makes any sense. I guess you just need to make sure that if that ever happens to you, you need to actually stop and say, okay, did I do something wrong? I think that's okay to ask. Or was it something else? And hopefully the person will open the line of communication and talk to you. But the biggest issue is don't shut it down. It's important to every relationship. Even if you don't rank it as the most important, it is still an important factor in a relationship. And there's other ways to be intimate than just, having sex, all the different positions and stuff. I won't make any hand motions. There's other ways to be intimate. You can lay with the person while they touch themselves and talk to them and kiss them. And, if you're not feeling well, if you're not feeling up to it, if you're, whatever, there's ways to work around it. There's ways to be with the person, to be present with the person, and not put yourself into a situation that makes you uncomfortable. And I think it applies to when you're just not feeling well physically, or it applies to dysphoria on either side. So, because if your partner is trans and you have body dysphoria, that's going to be tough to get over. That situation that I'm in. I think I mentioned in other videos, I'm a chunker. So I have some issues with my body and being naked and stuff. So sometimes I just feel gross and I don't want to. And as we as partners respect that. We respect dysphoria coming up in our trans partners. We should get the same respect back at us if we have, a problem with a medication that won't let us orgasm, a problem with a stomach pain, a problem with what have you, and when dysphoria comes up. So it works both ways. And I'm almost certain that that is all that I had. Oh, no, the last thing I want to talk about is owning your sexuality. And I don't mean, gay, straight, that sexuality. I mean your physical sexuality, like sensuality, sexuality, whatever you want to talk about. Even though you may not be happy with your parts, you're more than that. You still deserve to have somebody make you feel good and to make somebody else feel good and to have that exchange with somebody. So you should never gyp yourself just because you don't like the way that you look or you think that they don't like the way that you look. I know that I've heard stories of trans guys pulling the whole, oh, you want somebody with a real dick. No. If we're with you, we're with you. And it doesn't do anything to help if you bring up other parts. Because the reality is that we're with you because of you. Not because of what you're working with. I hope all that made sense. I feel like I said that a lot at the end of my videos because I ramble. So, I stuck to my notes. This is like my 7th take. Hopefully it will get up tonight. And I will see you all next time. Bye.